What's good, y'all? Anderson Emerald back here to talk about the Hungary Continental Tour. I want to recap all of the sprint and the hurdle events. I'll also talk about the men's long jump as well, but some amazing performances. Go check out the video I did yesterday talking about Brian Lavelle and that 219.69 legendary historical performance for Jamaica. But today, we got the hundreds for both the men and the women. We got 400, we got 4 hurdles. Let's dive into it all. But we're going to start off with that women's 100 meters because I actually thought this was the most interesting race, in my opinion, across the board in totality, next to the men's 400, but women's 100 meters. Here, we actually saw Marie-Josée Tallou-Smith take the win in 10.97 seconds, taking down a very high quality field. You're talking about Tina Clayton, Shericka Jackson, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Jason Sears, even athletes like Amaya McCoy, right? So this was a good performance for Marie-Josée Tallou-Smith. Obviously, 10.97, I had predicted that someone was going to probably run 10.8 something, 10.8 mid or 10.8 high or something around those realms. And I didn't even mention Tallou. Maybe I mentioned her a little bit, but I think this was maybe somewhat by the book to a degree in the sense that Tallou-Smith, she got out very, very fast, and she's I love Tallou-Smith, but like in these different one-off races, she definitely is able to excel to a very high degree. We saw her open up her season a little bit later than some other women, but she then started to get her groove going a little bit. She's run 10.9 on 2 occasions this year already. Now this 10.97 against another high quality field. I think this at least bodes well for her to remain in the conversation like she's always been, dating back to 2016, the first time that she made the final at any global championships. I remember she was in 2015 at the Worlds, but she was still young then. So shout out to Tallou-Smith. After that, Tina Clayton. Now, Tina Clayton had a very explosive start. She was lined up right next to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and Shelly-Ann actually didn't have that great of a start, at least relative to who we know Shelly-Ann as. Tina was out like an absolute rocket, and it paid off with a 10.99. The thing I like about Tina is, yes, she didn't run, the 10.81 that she, raced to get the win at Jamaican Trials. She didn't run close to that, but the consistency from Tina Clayton is there. Now, it doesn't mean that she's 100% gonna get a medal, this, that, whatever. I think she's right in the mix with other women to get on the podium. Again, behind Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, Julian Alfred, that's my top 2 for sure, in whatever order you want. Shout out to Julian Alfred, dealing with some setbacks. But Tina Clayton, I think I just like to see the consistency under the 11-second barrier, essentially proving that she is no fluke. The performances we saw from her as a U18, as a U20 athlete years ago are really coming into fruition after she's dealt with some injury setbacks over the past couple years. So shout out to Tina Clayton. I think she's going to be in the 100-meter race in Silesia in just a few days' time, so we're going to see how that plays out. Shericka Jackson, though, 3rd place, 11 seconds flat. Now, this is very interesting because at the early part of the season, Shericka Jackson had been dealing with some setbacks. She, started her season maybe not on the best foot that she would have wanted to. She went to those Chinese Diamond Leagues. I think she lost, one of those Diamond Leagues, she lost the 200 to Anavia Battle. And, she got to 10.88 at Jamaican Trials, finishing second to Tina Clayton. But we haven't seen the Shericka that we saw in 2023 at this point, right? 2024, dealt with injuries, all that. So I think this is just another interesting marker to see how she's able to progress from here. We still have about a month's time for her to get to the World Championships and compete with the women in both the 100 and the 200. She confirmed that she is doing the double, but is she going to be ready to, of course, the 100, I think there's a large group behind Melissa and Julian, but in the 200, it's a whole different story. Like, I don't know. Is she going to be ready to really contend for the podium? Now, let's be clear. It's a little more wide open in the 200, considering that Julian is far and away, from the rest of the field. Melissa is like moving into that realm. Gabby injured. You have Anavia. You have a whole bunch of women. But Shericka needs to be in some good form to get on that podium in both the 100 and the 200. We'll see. Again, we still have about a month's time. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce now, 11.07 seconds. As I said yesterday, I thought she was, of course, going to run a little bit faster, or at least I thought that if she was able to run a little bit faster, similar to like a 10.8, or a 10.9 low or something, similar to like she did at Jamaican Trials, then that would have boded very well for her chances in terms of possibilities for the podium at the World Championships. Now, 11.07, of course, it's not going to give anyone this like, all right, Shelly's ready. And listen, I know all of y'all, some of y'all were making predictions like 10-7, 10-8. Like, listen, let's take a step back. And it's okay to say that she didn't run as well here. Like I said, she didn't get the amazing start that we usually know from Shelly-Ann, right? That pocket rocket start. And she just kind of maintained throughout the better part of her race. Tina, Shericka, and of course Marie, they were able to overtake her and, get to the finish line before her. Jason Sears was right. Like, they literally finished in the exact same time, 11.07. So I think this is just another building block for Shelly-Ann. She'll run at the Lausanne Diamond League, and we'll see how she kind of continues to progress as we get closer to the World Championships. I just think this one marker does mean it's going to be a lot tougher than even I assumed it's going to be for Shelly to actually get on that podium. Shout out to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. And like I said, Jason Sears, 11.07, and the rest of the field all behind there. Now, let's talk about this men's 100 meters, because this was another race that everyone had some high expectations for, but turns out, Kishane Thompson gets the win, not in the time that I expected at all, and I think that most of the I expected don't play, but 9.95 seconds for Kishane Thompson into a slight headwind of negative 0.4. Nothing too spectacular. I think that what this really tells to me and shows to me is that Kishane is continuing his consistency throughout the 2025 season. His consistency in terms of racing very frequently. He's healthy. He's been racing since the indoor season and nonstop, all the way till August at this point. Still has more races between Silesia Diamond League, between Lausanne Diamond League. So that's what this race shows to me. On top of that, it shows me that he is still able to consistently beat out the top guys in the world. Some of his top competition that he's going to be racing at the World Championships. He beat out, I'll talk about Saminu in a second. He beat out Akani Simbine. He beat out Akeem Blake, right? These are guys, even Ferdinand Omanyala to a degree. But I'm looking at guys who have Akeem hasn't made a final, but guys who are very, very much in the conversation to potentially get into the final and to potentially medal at these World Championships. Because Shane is going days in, days out, and actually taking these guys down. Even to a degree, the idea that Akani Simbine early season had beaten out Kishane Thompson, and yes, I'm gonna still hold Akani is not done. We gonna see, but Kishane Thompson now just like turns the tables, and I think at this point it's like, all right, smooth sailing. Like, all due respect to Akani, but I'm not sure Kishane is going to have to worry about Akani when we look forward to the World Champs at this point. And he's just like clicking these things off. Now, as he does get to the Silesia Diamond League this weekend, that's a whole nother, challenge with Noah Lyles, with Kenny B, with all these other guys. Gets the Lausanne Diamond League, add in Oblique Seville, right? I think this was just a warm-up race for Kishane Thompson as he does restart his European tour in the lead up to the World Championships. 9.95, I think overall strong performance. Time is, pretty much irrelevant in the grand sense of things for this specific race. Behind him, Abdul Rashid Saminu. Now, he has been, a guy, unfortunately, who hasn't shown up at the big meets. When I say big meets, he competed at the NCAA championships running for South Florida. He ran 9.86 seconds prior to NCAAs at the regional meet, then didn't make the NCAA final in the 100. Then a few weeks later runs 9.84 seconds. So I'm not too high on Abdul Rashid Saminu, but he did come up for second place here. Akani Simbine was really trying to run him down, but he ran out of real estate and they came out with the same time. Of course, this is with all due respect, as I say, I don't think that I'm going to factor in Saminu, just especially based off this one race. I'm looking at some other guys who have more experience and have shown up at global finals, at global championships, before I'm going to say Saminu is a true threat. But shout out to Saminu here, and shout out the rest of the guys. Akani Simbine, 10.01, Akeem Blake remaining in that pack. He's going to have to really do some work to get into a global final like he needs to do. He's never made a global final, but 10.04, Ronnie Baker, 10.05, and then Kadrian Goldson, 10.08. So shout out to all these guys in the men's 100. Let's talk about the women's 200 very quickly here. As we saw, I thought this was a very high quality race. Yes, the times maybe aren't as reflective considering what we saw with Brian Lavelle and his 19.69, but Ashanti Moore consistently improving her 2025 best. She's now run 22.31, a personal best for her. She's improves on her previous best of 22.40, I think it was, which he got to qualify for the World Championships. she almost gets run down by Favorofili, who gets the exact same time. Look at a lot of these races: Shelly-Ann and Jason Sears, Abdul and Akani, and then now Shanti Moore and Favorofili. 22.31 for both of them. Favorofili had already run 22 flat this year, and we saw the high-profile situation with transfer of allegiance to Turkey. But I thought overall another good race. But I think this is turning out to be just like Ashanti Moore is building off the momentum that she picked up once she won the Jamaican title this year. Now, she was doing very well leading up to trials, but I think after she won the championships at Jamaica in the 200 for Jamaica, and she knew that she had to get the World Championship standard to be able to compete at Worlds, I think she just picked up off that momentum, got the standard, and is just rolling off of that. 10.94 in the 100, 22.31 in the 200, a bunch of other races in between. Ashanti Moore is really doing some great work, and, obviously it's a stretch to say, getting onto the podium or anything like that. But I think we can at least acknowledge that she's doing very well in 2025. So shout out to Ashanti Moore, Favorofili, Daryl Nita. Those three well separated from the field. All three of them running 22.3. Let's move over. Women's 400 meter hurdles. This was a walk in the park for Femke Bol. 52.24 seconds. Second place was 54.50 by Naomi Vanderbroek. We're talking about literally over 2 seconds between first place and second place. I thought both Jasmine Jones was going to give her, run for her money. Savannah Sutherland, she pulled out, so she didn't start in this race. Hopefully she's healthy. Hopefully she's set. She's supposed to compete in Celestia, so we'll see that. I thought that Cheyenne Salmon, maybe Kemi Adekoya, I thought there were some women who were going to give her at least a run for her money, but listen, 52.24, great run from Femke Bol. We'll see her and a few others in Celestia. That's going to be a very high-quality Diamond League field, so keep a lookout for that women's 400-meter hurdles. Let's move over with the men's 400. I actually thought just how the race played out, this race was good. So you had Muzala Samukonga running closer to the inside, and he gets the win in 44.11 seconds. He basically led the race from gun to tape. This was a great race for Muzala, considering what he's done throughout the year already. He's been very consistent. He ran in Grand Slam track. Grand Slam track in Miami went very well for him, both in the 400 and the 200. And, some ups and downs, but for him to get back on the circuit and now run 44.1, remember, he is a bronze medalist from the Olympic Games last year. He's really planning out his season in preparation to get back on that podium. And I know he doesn't want that bronze. I know he wants a much better medal. Of course he wants gold, but listen, Muzala, this is a great race for him. And this is against a very relatively high quality field. Jareem Richards, 4th placer at the Olympic Games last year, and he runs 44.14. And Jareem Richards was behind, coming off the curve into the home straight. I don't even know what place Jareem Richards was, but you saw his strength and his speed come into play. And for him to put a performance down like this, Jareem Richards is going to be dangerous. I'm assuming he's going to run the 400 at Worlds. He's already run 19.8 though in the 200. So not sure, but I'm assuming if he's in this form, come on, Jareem he's back in medal contention, just like he was last year, running 43.7 or whatever it was, 43.7 to not get on the podium. Come on. Caleb McRae, 3rd place. He got ran down by Jareem Richards. Another close race, 44.16. But this was a very good performance for Caleb. I'm actually really impressed. He's already run 43.9 this year, and he made the USA team, but this is a good performance for Caleb, kind of showing his prowess and putting him in the conversation. So shout out to all these guys in the 400 on the men's side. Women's side, a little bit lighter, but Leaky Claver getting her footing a little bit more, 50.11 seconds, on the cusp of that 49-second barrier. I say that she's going to have to run 49 seconds to be in the conversation. She's going to have to run 49 low, mid to low to be in the conversation, and 48 to challenge for a medal. The 400 is stacked between Marley DuPaulino, Sawi Nasser, Cindy McLaughlin-Roney, just those three. Add in Nikisha Price, add in Natalia Bukovetska, right? Add in, Amber Anning, Rashida Delicate. There's so many women in the field, many of those women who, kept Leaky Claver out of the Olympic final last year. So I don't know, but she did do very well here to beat out the field by just about half a second, 50.69 by Mercy. So this is a good performance overall from Licky Klaver. Will be interesting to see how she does make progress leading into Worlds. And I think the goal for her, in my opinion, is to make that final. Can she make that final at the World Championships once again? Or will she be on the outside looking in? We'll see how that plays out. Now, very quickly, women's 100-meter hurdles. Not too spectacular in terms of, let me stop doing that. 12.43 seconds is a really, really good time. Like, I think I'll be honest, I'm getting a little desensitized to how fast these women have been running with the 12.1s, 12.2s, 12.3s. Nadine Visser, considering, in my opinion, she's a veteran of the sport, and she's 30 years old already at this point, and she's running 12.43. Huge shout out to Nadine Visser. She's someone who, yes, you have the Jamaicans, you have the Americans, but like, she is a medal threat. In my opinion, she is a medal threat. You have Ditaji Kumbunji, so don't sleep on Nadine Visser. Aaliyah Armstrong, she led for a very strong part of the field of the race. Aaliyah and Christina Clemens, but they came up just short with 12.5 and 12.74. The two Jamaicans, Akira Nugent, 12.85, and then Amoy Brown, 12.88. Both of them are, of course, going to World Championships, but Akira Nugent was like doing well for the first part of the race, and then it seemed like she just kind of, I don't know, something happened mid-race, and it seemed like she just kind of backed off, or she wasn't able to execute fully. Not exactly sure. Didn't look like an injury, but I think Akira is going to be good. I think Akira is a gold medal threat, just like some of the other women, but they're going to be at Diamond Leagues over the next few weeks, so we'll see how that plays out. But last one, men's 110-meter hurdles. Last one on the track, men's 110-meter hurdles. Again, not too spectacular, but a good race from Cordell Tinch, Hansel Parchment, and Eric Edwards. All of them running 13.2. Cordell Tinch was on the kind of like middle of the field, and then Hansel Parchment was on the inside to a degree. And, Cordell Tinch, he led the field for the most part and led all the way, eventually getting that win. But Hansel Parchment on the inside, he was putting a very, very good race together, almost getting the win. I don't sleep on either Hansel Parchment or Orlando Bennett and their ability to potentially win the Diamond League final. Now, I'm not saying they're definitely going to win, considering you have Cordell Tinch, you have, Trey Cunningham, you have, Dylan Beard, and you have a whole bunch of guys that are all in the conversation. But if Hansel or Orlando actually do get the Diamond League win, then they can add one more guy in for Jamaica to go to the World Championships by way of having the wild card. So that'll be very interesting, but all these guys running 13.2 across the board, great performances, and Cordell, he's looking for a medal at Worlds this year. He's looking for a medal. We'll see if that comes into fruition. Last one, do want to give a quick shout out to the men's long jump that we did see here. Men's long jump. Simon Batts, he actually took the win. Nothing too crazy in terms of performances, right? 8.07 meters, like, that's, all due respect, that's not doing much here, but in terms of the grand scheme of the long jump. But the guys he beat out, Miltiades Tenteglu, World Olympic and world champion. Carrie McLeod, 4th place at the World Championships in 2023. You have Tajay Gale, world champion from 2019, and a whole bunch of other guys in between as well. So I did really like this field, and it was, I think, just a little, not to say a shock, but to see Simon Batts take the win over Miltiades Tenteglu, that can kind of, rattle people to a degree, especially as everyone is preparing for the World Championships. Finally, shout out to the women's long jump as well. Claire Bryant, 6.71 meters to get the win over, actually, I thought this field was very, very strong. Akeelia Smith, Quanisha Burks, Monet Nichols, Ivana Spanovic, like, this is a very, very strong field, and Claire Bryant, world indoor champion, getting the win over the rest of these women, leading to potentially, listen, she is going for a medal. It's going to be tough. You're looking at Tara Davis-Woodhall, Malaki Mihambo, and Larissa Yapachino. Probably those three, maybe some other women also in the mix. Not maybe, definitely some other women in the mix, but Claire Bryant, she's trying to get a medal. She is trying to get a medal. Also, of course, I couldn't go here without shouting out the men's pole vault with the world record. Mondo Duplantis, 6.29 meters. His 13th time breaking the world record in the men's pole vault. I mean, he is dominant. I think Puma was like, listen, give us a break because of all the bonuses. They got to keep, pushing out. But listen, every centimeter counts for Mondo. So shout out to Mondo Duplantis and Corrales also jumping over 6 meters here. But that was a Hungary Continental Tour. We, of course, are now looking forward to the Diamond League races. We got Celestia coming up this weekend. Of course, I'm going to have a preview, and then, we'll talk about that. And then a couple others as the year year, as the month progresses through August, leading up to the World Championships going down in September. So let me know what you thought about this Diamond League here in Hungary. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Truly appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.